Post office clerks put up signs saying position closed. The secretaries turn off typewriters and put on their coats. And janitors padlock the gates for security guards to patrol. And bachelors phone up their friends for a drink while the married ones turn on a chat show. And they'll all be lonely tonight and lonely tomorrow. Gentlemen, time please, you know we can't serve anymore. Now the traffic lights change to stop when there's nothing to go. And by 5 o'clock everything's dead, and every third car is a cab. And ignorant people sleep in their beds like the dope white mice in the college lab. And nothing ever happens, nothing happens at all. The needle returns to the start of the song, and we all sing along like before. And we'll all be lonely tonight and lonely tomorrow. Telephone exchanges click while there's nobody there. The Martians could land in the car park and no one would care. And closed-circuit cameras in department stores shoot the same movie every day. And the stars of these films neither died nor get killed, just survive constant action replay. And nothing ever happens, nothing happens at all. The needle returns to the start of the song, and we all sing along like before. And we'll all be lonely tonight and lonely tomorrow. Advertise products that nobody needs, while angry from Manchester writes to complain about all the repeats on TV. And computer terminals report some gains on the values of copper and tin, while American businessmen snap up Van Goghs for the price of a hospital wing. And nothing ever happens, nothing happens at all. The needle returns to the start of the song, and we all sing along like before. And nothing ever happens, nothing happens at all. They'll burn down the synagogues at 6 o'clock, and we all go along like before. And we'll all be lonely tonight and lonely tomorrow. And we'll all be lonely tonight and lonely tomorrow. And we'll all be lonely tonight and lonely tomorrow.
Well, hello and welcome to another Restore Live. It hasn't been for a while that we've had a Restore Live, but here we are in our normal spot at Wednesday at 8 p.m. I've just noticed that the numbers on the live chat from across the platforms that they're going up very nicely. Thank you. And if you're on any of the Facebook channels, that's the Restore UK channel, also the British Unionist People's Voice. If you would like to share out the platform, if you would like to tag people into the live chat, if you would like to make it known that you're here, it helps with the algorithm also, just by leaving a little message into the live chat. If you're on the YouTube channel, well, again, I would ask you if you could share it with your friends so that as many people gets to see what it is that we're here to talk about. Now, the people that would come to this channel under normal circumstances, they know that I haven't been here since probably shortly after Easter. I think we done one stream after Easter this year. And we decided to go in a completely different direction after Easter. And we did that for a reason. And the reason is this, that our politicians, well, they were making the right noises and they were looking as if that they were going to be doing the right thing for and on behalf of the Unionist people of Northern Ireland. So therefore, there was no need to be sitting here every week challenging our politicians, pointing out their flaws, pointing out their inactions, their inabilities, their unwillingness to stand up for the Unionist people of Northern Ireland. There was absolutely no need for that. And the reason why that I'm stating that and stating that quite specifically is this, because we will get people, you will hear people standing in the background and saying, well, you know, these people, they do nothing but attack unionists when unionists are doing the right thing. Now, we're specifically talking about the DUP here. And we're not talking about the UUP because they are a lost cause. That's what I believe in my heart, that they are a complete lost cause. We're talking about the DUP this evening. And we're here for a reason, not because that we feel in the pit of our stomach or we have a hunch or we get an inkling that maybe the DUP are going to do the wrong thing. Oh, no. We're here because that we have been approached by a high-ranking member of the DUP telling us of the noises that the DUP leadership are making with reference what it is that they are prepared to do with reference your unionism. Your place in the United Kingdom, my place in the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom. I am told that the noises that are coming out of the hierarchy of the DUP right now, well, they are not conducive to unionism in Northern Ireland continuing. They are more conducive to watering down of unionism here in Northern Ireland. And I ask myself a question. How could any unionist that calls themselves a unionist, how could any unionist ever accept anything but Northern Ireland's full place restored within the United Kingdom? Our democracy fully restored, that protocol, that union destroying protocol, that democracy destroying protocol, that Windsor framework, which is the protocol Mark III, Theresa May's backstop, Boris Johnson's oven-ready deal, the protocol deal, Rishi Sunak's Windsor framework. What's the difference, people? What's the difference? If you think that there's difference, maybe your unionist politicians, your unionist leadership hasn't actually explained, things in the right way to you. If you think that there's difference between the backstop, the protocol, the Windsor framework, well, let's give you a few home truths. What do they all mean to the unionists here in Northern Ireland? Well, they mean for the unionists specifically who took part in the Brexit referendum, 17.4 plus million people took part in a Brexit referendum on the 23rd of June in 2016. The people in Northern Ireland that voted in that democratic referendum, the ballot paper, which was given to everyone from within the United Kingdom, it stated exactly the same thing from right around the United Kingdom. Let's just remind ourselves of what it was that it said on that ballot paper, and then we'll go on. A referendum on the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union. Vote only once by putting a cross X in the box next to your choice. Your choice. Should the United Kingdom remain a member of the European Union, or should the United Kingdom leave the European Union? Remain a member or leave? How many people put their X in the box to leave the European Union? How many people put their X in the box to remain a member of the European Union? Well, as per democracy, as per the democratic right of the people in Northern Ireland, the same as people in England, Scotland, and Wales, 17.4 plus million people, that is, who placed their acts to leave the European Union, I ask the question, has Northern Ireland left the European Union? Does the Windsor Framework provide the circumstances in where that the people of Northern Ireland, the Unionist electorate of Northern Ireland, get to leave the European Union? Has our politicians done sufficient to ensure that our place within the United Kingdom is protected as fully fledged members of that United Kingdom? Has our democracy been restored? Has the democratic rights of the people of Northern Ireland been restored under the Windsor Framework? And most importantly, has that border between Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales, has that been removed under this Windsor Framework? Well, we all know the answer. The answer is absolutely not. And then we go on and we ask a question. Could any unionist, anyone who calls themselves a unionist, any leader who purports to lead unionism in Northern Ireland, could they, by any chance or by any stretch of the imagination, could they accept a border in the North Channel, a border between Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales? I want people to understand the gravity. Could any unionist leader accept that? Well, we all know that Doug Beattie has accepted that. We all know that the Ulster Unionist Party has accepted it. They say party before country. That's what they say. Or sorry, country before party. But they really mean party before country, because without the Belfast appeasement process, without Stormont, the Ulster Unionist Party are nothing. They're finished. They're over. They are irrelevant. So they'll do anything to get into Stormont. But the DUP, can we say that the DUP are irrelevant without the Stormont, without the appeasement process, without having rectified that appeasement process that began way back in 1994, going forward until today's date? Can we say that the DUP, they have a vested interest, or they should have a vested interest in working within those structures? Because we've all seen as unionists that those structures mean one thing and one thing only: the appeasement of provisional IRA terrorism as a means to, well, keep the bombs out of London. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle and lies. The peace is a farce. The IRA guns are still there, and London is afraid of another bomb scare. So before we go on, let me explain something. We decided at Easter time that we would go off and we would do something else, because our unionist leaders, they seemingly were doing the right thing. They were speaking the right language. They were standing strong, standing tall, behind what it is that the unionist electorate give them a mandate to do. And that mandate was for them to stay out of Stormont until the democratic rights of the people of Northern Ireland, the unionist people of Northern Ireland, would once more be respected, until that border in the North Channel is gone, and gone completely, and until that we become fully fledged members of the United Kingdom once more, by reinstating the Act of the Union, specifically Article 6, to give Northern Ireland citizens, United Kingdom Northern Ireland citizens, the same rights as other people in England, Scotland, and Wales. Now, that hasn't happened. That will not happen. That will never happen under the Windsor Framework. So, a question for everyone: could we ever comprehend the circumstances in where that a unionist leader, that a unionist leadership, that a DUP conference at the weekend might actually contemplate rolling over, capitulating, and giving in to the blackmailing tactics of Sinn Féin IRA? You ask me, what do you mean that Sinn Féin are blackmailing? Let me just show you, and let's understand why that it is that we are in the position that we're in. If the protocol is altered in any way, if Unionists are not subjugated, if Unionists are not separated in Northern Ireland from England, Scotland, and Wales, if there's not a border in the Irish Sea between England, Scotland, and Wales and Northern Ireland, if the democracy isn't removed from Northern Ireland Unionists whenever they voted in that Brexit referendum, if the democracy isn't removed, if that border isn't lifted from between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic and placed at Larne, at Belfast and Warrenpoint, if all of that doesn't go our way, said the IRA terrorists, well, we will go back to doing exactly what it is we do. The exact words of Conor Murphy was that if the protocol is altered in any way, which places a border, an EU customs and regulatory border in the Irish Sea at Larne, Belfast and Warrenpoint, if that is altered in any way, Republicans, Sinn Féin, the IRA are walking away from the peace process.
Sinn Féin have been very clear that if the protocol bill becomes law and the protocol is overwritten, and they would not serve in the executive. Conor Murphy was incredibly clear at that at the British Irish Association conference in Pembroke College in September.
So Conor Murphy was absolutely abundantly clear that if the democracy destroying, the Northern Ireland separating, the United Kingdom dismantling protocol, if that is altered in any way, shape or form, Sinn Féin is walking away from the process. Now, I didn't stop there whenever Conor Burns had said that. Whenever that we learned that last year, we didn't stop there. Oh no, I spoke to a professor of politics whom I know, who was at that conference, who confirmed that that's exactly what Sinn Féin had suggested. So here we have a situation in where the Sinn Féin say that if Unionists are not kept in a way that they are separated from England, Scotland and Wales, if the border between Northern Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales doesn't stay in place, if Unionists are not, if they haven't lost their citizens' rights, Article 6 being removed, the Act of the Union, if all of that doesn't stay in place, if the border isn't physically lifted between the Irish Republic and transplanted and popped into a place in Larne, Belfast and Warrenpoint, if that border isn't removed from the Irish Republic and put at the Irish Sea ports, if that doesn't happen, Sinn Féin will walk away from the process. You see, that's what an appeasement process is. Whenever you hear people saying that the Belfast Agreement, it isn't an agreement, it isn't a peace process, it's an appeasement process, well, that just about sums up and typifies what Sinn Féin ask for, Sinn Féin get. Now, the real question is this. Will Jeffrey Donaldson and the DUP hierarchy, will they roll over? Will they take the blackmailing of Sinn Féin IRA? Will they accept that blackmailing? Will they try to convince the Unionist electorate? Will they try to convince their party members at the weekend in their party conference, just this weekend that's about to happen? Will they try to convince their party conference that, well, you know, demographics might play a part in all of this? Integrated schools. There's schools that are turning integrated. The tide's not on Unionists' side. The Alliance Party, the rise of the Alliance Party. You know, we've got all that to worry about. So we really should accept being half in the United Kingdom and half out of it. We really should accept being second-class citizens. We really should accept a permanent border in the North Channel between England, Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland. We really should accept the separating of a union, the greatest union in all of the world. And we should roll over and we should just forget about being Unionists. and we should roll into place like good boys and good girls and become part of this so-called New Ireland. And why? That's because that Sinn Féin are threatening that if they don't get their way, if they can't have their way, they are walking away from the peace process. I'd let you hear that again, what Conor Murphy had said. The real question is Jeffrey Donaldson prepared to accept that? Now, we're here for a reason. We're not here out of the goodness of our health. We're not here because that we want to shout about something that, for no good reason. We took ourselves off for 6 months. We started to make a documentary showing the Irish state-sponsored terrorism that had been in place, that had formed, that had armed, that had trained, that had financed, that had strategized for, and that had propagandized for the emerging provisional IRA in 1969 going forward, responsible for the murder of many Northern Ireland citizens. That's what we were spending our time doing, focusing on that, not focusing on our politicians. We don't shout if we don't need to. But believe me, people, what I heard firsthand just a few days ago, I'm in shock. I could not believe that a so-called leadership of unionism in Northern Ireland were prepared to buckle under the blackmail of provisional IRA Sinn Féin. What do you think? Do you think that the DUP should buckle? Do you think that the DUP should cave? Let me just remind Jeffrey Donaldson and the DUP of something that Jeffrey Donaldson had said, because it's very relevant. And if it meant something to Jeffrey Donaldson 3 years ago, well, it means exactly the same thing today. Let's remind people.
Peace building as a bit like bridge building. You can have a great process just like you can have a bridge, and it looks really good. But unless you have the strong supports on either side of that bridge, the bridge will not stand. And I think, if I may say so, one of the deficits in our peace process today in Northern Ireland is that the strong supports on either side are not as strong as they should and could be.
I'll use that analogy. Bridge building is like peace building. It needs support on both sides of that bridge. I ask the Unionist people, I ask the people of Northern Ireland, would you support a rollover? Would you support a surrender? Would you support a capitulation to IRA demands? Would your forefathers be turning in their graves? Would you be walking on the graves of every single person that has ever stood against provisional IRA and their destabilization of Northern Ireland society, and every single citizen that lives in Northern Ireland? I mean, do you support the rolling over and the capitulation and the giving in to IRA Sinn Féin demands? Do you think that the DUP should actually capitulate to that? Do you think that Jeffrey Donaldson should be persuading at the weekend this DUP conference, which is coming up? Do you think that he should be persuading to roll over, to accept the border in the North Channel, to accept the breaking up of the United Kingdom, to accept that Article 6 of the Act of the Union has been, quote unquote, this is what they told us in the Supreme Court, that it has been disapplied, removing Northern Ireland citizens from the rights that they have as citizens of the United Kingdom? Did you give the DUP a mandate to do this? Bridge building, he said, is like peace building. You need support on both sides of that bridge. Opinion polls has told us, every single poll, opinion poll sounding throughout the length and breadth of unionism has said that they want that border removed, that they need that border removed, that they are second-class citizens when that border is in place, that they do not accept the Windsor Framework, that they do not accept the dismantling of the Act of the Union. Every single unionist with any titter of wit is on that side of history, not the side of Doug Beattie, who wants to roll over and wants to go back into Stormont, because he's nothing unless that he goes back into Stormont. Any right-minded unionist, any real unionist, is for having that border removed. And if you give in, if you go back, if you go in to work the institutions which are ultimately geared towards destroying you and every single thing that you've ever believed in, if you were to go back into that, if you were to give authority to the DUP to walk back into that, well, are you complicit if that's what you want to do? So again, just to recap, is that we were approached by a high-ranking member of the DUP, Jamie Bryson, just last week. He started to talk about this type of thing. There was a full frontal attack from Jeffrey Donaldson in the media saying that he will not be derailed, he'll not be deterred, he'll not be influenced by people like me, people like Jamie Bryson, unionist electorate. Jeffrey, you know, the DUP hierarchy, Timmy Johnston and whoever else is listening, we are not here to derail you, to steer you, to do anything else with you. All we are here for is to ask for our democratic right, to ask for our mandate to be delivered. You stood on a mandate, you got a mandate, and your mandate is one way and one way only. And that one way is to stand against the union destroying protocol and Windsor Framework until the border is removed from the Irish Sea. That's your mandate. And that's the mandate that we expect you to hold to and adhere to until such times as the people in Northern Ireland have their rights respected one more time. We are not second-class citizens. We are not going to be, shit on the shoe of anyone and walked all over by provisional IRA Sinn Féin. We're not going to be that way. And if you think we are, well, I think that you've got another thing coming. Let's play some more from Jeffrey, just reminding him of his own words. Listen to the bit where he talked about bridge building and support on either side. People, I am not staying here for too long. There was meant to be others with me this evening here on screen, but it was at so short notice that some people couldn't get away from work. I'm going to be doing another stream tomorrow with someone else at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to be asking that person what they know with reference the soundings coming from the DUP hierarchy with reference the rolling over, the accepting the blackmail of provisional IRA. We're going to be asking somebody else what they know, because we know that they know something also. But thank heavens for real unionists from within the DUP who is prepared to break and to tell us what they know and what they see coming down the line. Let's remind ourselves of Jeffrey one more time. I ain't staying here for long. I don't want to be here. I didn't want to be here. I want to be in a position where I can trust my politicians, that I can trust those who I elect to stand up for my rights. And if I can't stand there, if I can't, trust them to stand up for my rights, well then what hope do we have? What hope as unionists do we have? What hope does the union between England, Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland have if your so-called leaders are failing to serve and protect you? Let's play a couple of wee clips from Jeffrey. I'm going to play us out with a song and then I'm moving on. Look, I really want to thank people that just came along. I see a lot of comments. I'll go to the live stream in a wee second, but I really, really want to thank people for coming along. I'm asking people to share this out. And I personally am disgusted at what it is that I learned just a few days ago. Listen to Jeffrey. I'll come back. We'll look at the live chat, leave some messages in the live chat. We'll pick up on a few of the messages and then we'll play us out.
Peace building as a bit like bridge building. You can have a great process just like you can have a bridge, and it looks really good. But unless you have the strong supports on either side of that bridge, the bridge will not stand. And I think, if I may say so, one of the deficits in our peace process today in Northern Ireland is that the strong supports on either side are not as strong as they should and could be. Someone once said, it's an old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. Actually, I think when it comes to peace building, it's the other way around. It is about keeping your friends close. And we see it in many parts of the world. The ability of a leader to deliver peace is inextricably linked with his or her ability to bring their people with them. Making peace with your enemies is important, but it can only be successful if you make peace with your friends.
I would like for Jeffrey to to remember those words, because I'm trying to remind him of his words. Making peace with your enemies can only be successful if you make peace for your friends. Building a bridge requires support on two sides. And without the support on one side, what is the point of trying to build that bridge? And let me speak, I think, on behalf of every right-minded Unionist person in Northern Ireland. We want peace. We want stability. We don't want to be treated as second-class citizens. We don't want to be having our democracy removed because of the blackmailing tactics of provisional Sinn Féin IRA. We don't want to, I'm going to say, be always having to take the rough end of the stick. We don't want our political leaders that we put in place to serve and protect us to be rolling over, to be capitulating. We don't want that. All we want is for to live in peace, to get on with our lives, and to, have a peaceful, prosperous society, and where every single person could live. That's all we ask for. But sometimes whenever you're being treated and taken for fools by everyone, and then we ask ourselves, why? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Is there an agenda? Is there an agenda to railroad Unionists into this so-called New Ireland? Does every single Unionist in Northern Ireland have an onus or responsibility to make a stand against this? To come together, to put our differences aside, and to stand against what is wrong, what is absolutely wrong. The people that has held this country to ransom for all of my life. I'm 54 years of age, coming 55, and I've known nothing but provisional IRA violence, murdering and maiming people, holding this society to ransom. I've known nothing but that all of my life. And I really don't want that to go on. I don't want that to go on. I would rather be living in peace. So they're either for peace or they're not. They're either for a society in where everyone is respected, or they are not. They're either for no border anywhere, or they're not. Why should one be enhanced at the expense of another? Anyway, I was here to pre-warn you that something is going to come from the DUP. We hope that we can divert it. We hope that we can appeal to the right people, which will appeal to the DUP hierarchy, that this is not acceptable. We hope that Jeffrey understands his own words from a few years ago, that he said that if you're building a bridge, you need support on both sides of that bridge. And clearly, the DUP hierarchy, Jeffrey Donaldson, and anyone else that wants to walk with him in surrendering to provisional IRA when they say that unless they have their way, unless that there's a border in the North Channel, and unless that unionists are made second-class citizens, then unless they have that, they will walk away from this so-called a peace process. That's what they say. Well, do you know what I say? Bye-bye. Cheerio. If you don't want to be part of it, sling your hook. And that's the way that every single unionist in this land should feel, should be, and should tell the DUP that that's the only thing that they want them to do is look, we'll get a fair process or we don't. We're part of a fair level playing field or we're not. Either way, it's fine by me. And I hope that it's fine by you too. Just a wee thing before that we go, right? I'm going to look at some of the live chat here, and I'm asking people to leave this in the live chat to share this out. You know, I mean, we haven't been here in a while. We haven't felt the need to come here in a while. You know, we're not shouting from the sidelines. We're shouting because that we care. We broke from a very, very busy schedule of making a documentary, which is very, very important, by the way. It's now we're into our 7th month here. We're into part 3 of the real history of the Troubles, Irish state-sponsored terrorism, in where that we have found the Irish government are responsible for setting up, training, financing, arming, strategizing for, providing logistical support, and providing a professional propaganda campaign for the emerging provisional IRA. Now, we're going to get into that as we go along with this documentary. And then there's another question. Where's our unionist politicians supporting us for what it is that we're doing? Where's the unionist politicians that is picked up from the Irish state papers, what we've shown them conclusively, that the Fianna Fáil government, it's very, very hard to tell where they ended and where the provisional IRA began. It's very, very hard to tell who's responsible for murdering and maiming people in this country from 1969 going forward. It's very hard to tell. And there's not one unionist politician that is wanted to seek to rock that boat to demand an inquiry into the Irish government. The closest that we've got to someone demanding that is Ben Laurie from the newsletter, in where that he said, well, if Chris Heaton Harris, wants to use words, I'm going to paraphrase here, then he needs to use words in a way that there is an inquiry into the Irish government's part that they played in the Troubles from 1969 going forward, and that's with or without Irish government participation. That's what the British government need to do. That's what unionist politicians need to call for. That's what we will continue to show in a conclusive way, that it actually did happen. And whenever you hear this nonsense, collusion, British state collusion, what about Irish state collusion? What about Irish state-sponsored terrorism? What about that? Anyway, now that you know, keep an eye on the DUP's conference. I would suggest that people, and we've said this before, I would suggest that what you do is that you get in contact with your politicians, your DUP politicians, your MLAs, your councillors, whoever is associated with the DUP, and you tell them, not in our name, and you use that analogy as in that if you're going to build a bridge, it's just like peace building, Jeffrey Donaldson says. Building peace is just like bridge building. And bridge building requires support on both sides. And right now, Jeffrey Donaldson doesn't have the support to build that bridge. That bridge will collapse. And rightly so. People, thanks very much for coming along. We'll just take a few things out of the live chat. We'll pop them up. We'll play us out. And I'm asking people to stop and to just look at what it is that we're going to play on the way out here. It's a song and it's very, very symbolic, and try to understand who that it is that our politicians are potentially working for. Is it the unionist community, or is it their place in globalization? Is it their place in this political hierarchy, this political elite? What matters to them? What matters to Sir Jeffrey Donaldson? because it's under his watch that this is potentially going to happen. And I hope that it changes. I hope that people can change this. I hope that people power will ensure that the DUP, they understand, they get the message that they do not have the authority to do this in our name. Over to the live chat. Tom, thanks very much. Thanks very much. Yeah, it is very, very clear that we're being censored. We'll go way back, Tom, and way back to the times whenever 7, 8, 10,000, even before that, United Kingdom vote pool times, where you couldn't do a post and it wasn't reaching even on the Facebook channel 100,000 plus people. Today, we pop something up and it gets maybe 1 or 2 likes and nobody gets to see what it is that we're doing. But Tom, well spotted. Yeah, that's an absolute fact. Anyway, here we go. Actions of the DUP. Right, okay. We're going to have a go at this. As a German living in Northern Ireland, actually the DUP are already responsible. It'd be different if their mandate was a majority. It isn't. They have ruined NI and any hope of the union in the UK. Nick, I think what you're doing is that you are listening to the propaganda. You are listening to that, this domination, this Sinn Féin driven expectation that they can be, whatever they say goes. Look, listen to tell you something. And there's a song that I looked at just at the weekend there. What is it they call it? Crazy, 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 crazy nights. That's what they call the song. And it's by Kiss. And it says, they try to tell us we don't belong. But that's okay, because we are 1 million strong. Remember that, Nick. There's a lot of unionists in this country and a lot of unionists that are going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Alison Faulkner. Unfortunately, we're sold down the river by so-called unionists, Sinn Féin IRA scumbags. I share your sentiments there. Ulster is British. Alison, 200 million%. Paul Toombs. Churchill said, when will the lesson be learned? How many more dictators must be wooed, appeased, given the immense privilege before we learn? You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth, and the truth shall set you free. You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth. And right now, Unionist's head is in the mouth of the appeasement process, which is being driven towards facilitating and appeasing every single demand of Sinn Féin IRA. Well, I, for one, I'm not going to stand for that. And I just hope that you're not going to stand for that too. Thanks very much for that, Paul. Yeah. Look, I could go through the live chat. There's a lot of relevant points there. I don't want to stay here for long. We've been here for 44 minutes. We're going to stop now. We're just going to play us out with a little song. We're going to keep this short and sweet. We're going to go and we're going to cut the relevant clips from this, and we're going to make them available from within our community. All I'm saying is that, share this with people, ensure that people understand. Keep an eye on the DUP conference at the weekend. And I can only thank that there is some responsible people from within that DUP hierarchy who feels like us, who feels like you, who feels like every single unionist, which is needed to provide that support for that bridge building which Jeffrey Donaldson spoke about. Jeffrey Donaldson, if a bridge needed support 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was 2019, if a bridge needed support, and without that support, that bridge would fall. Bridge building is like peace building. If a bridge needed support in 2019, why then does that bridge not need support in 2023? People, thanks very much for coming along. We'll come back again tomorrow. I hope to be presenting again with someone else who knows maybe a wee bit more about it than I do, and he was meant to be here this evening. However, other things he needed to do. So I'm going to play us out with one thing, and I'm asking people to watch this because in reality, this is what's happening before your very, very eyes. Thanks very much for coming along. I tell you what, it was a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure to be presenting again this evening on Restore UK. Union first. John Brennan, I seen you on earlier on. Union first. That's what it needs to be. Everything else is second. You know, and if others want to destroy the integrity of the United Kingdom, well, that's for them to do. That's whether it's Chris Heaton-Harris or Rishi Sunak or anyone else from within the British government. But we do not permit, we do not expect, we do not authorize those that we give a mandate to capitulate on our behalf. Good night, people. See you all soon. Thanks very much for coming along.
I looked outside. What did I see? A little bird. He looked at me. I lured him close. With a piece of bread. And then I smashed. His little head. The moral of the story is. You want some head. You need some bread. Right turn. Huh.
Brain
see a broken land. Show breaks the love to keep us together.
I looked outside. What did I see? What did I see? A little bird. A little bird. He looked at me. He looked at me. I lured him close. I lured him close. With a piece of bread. With a piece of bread. And then I smashed. And then I smashed his little head. His little head.